Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Can you believe it's been 10 episodes of Metal Mondays with Maiden? Thanks everybody for your continued support on the channel. Whether it's music, whether it's cards, whether it's shenanigans, hanging out with the guys, whatever it is, thanks for your support. I truly appreciate it. And if you're new here, drop a like, drop a comment, drop a sub. I would appreciate it. It helps the channel and it helps us grow. So let's go ahead. We got 3 epic cassettes this week. We have Puppets, we have Kill 'Em All, and we have Metallica. I figured for the 10th episode, we do an all Metallica episode today. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. Let's go! So first off, we have Kill 'Em All. This is one of the albums that started it all for the genre, for the scene, for heavy metal, for speed metal, for thrash metal. Kill 'Em All was one of the first albums that started everything. So, before we get too much into this, there's a lot of lore around this album with the firing of Dave Mustaine being fired before the recording of the record. I won't touch into that too much today, although we will talk about what songs that he was credited with and a little bit about that. But I will cover the Dave Mustaine story maybe in another episode because it does deserve its own 10-minute episode for sure. So this album was recorded between May 10th and 27th, 1983. At Music America Studios in Rochester, New York. Shout out to Zach. It was released on July the 25th, 1983, through the independent label Megaforce Records. See, the logo is right here. Yeah, Megaforce. And in Canada, it was released on the Bonsai record label out of Montreal. Again, logo right here. This is a Banzai pressing of the cassette, which I will show in a little bit. So this is the original first printing of this record in Canada. Okay, so the original title for this record was actually called Metal Up Your Ass. Logo right here, the original artwork. Johnny Z, the owner of Megaforce, figured it was too explicit and the distributors wouldn't stock the record. So they end up going with this cover here, which was designed by Gary Hurd. And there's a little bit of lore about Cliff Burton, may he rest in peace, one of my favorite musicians ever. He used to carry a hammer around everywhere he went. Everywhere, whether it was on tour, whether it was in the car, whether it was visiting friends. And he was once asked by somebody, I don't know if it was Kerrang or Cream or one of the metal magazines, one of the music magazines of the time, before the internet, kids. And they asked him, he said, "Why do you always have a hammer?" And he barked, "Because you never know when you'll need a hammer." Rest in peace, Cliff Burton. So there's it's immortalized in this cover art here. This album was also regarded by Billboard as one of the heaviest records ever made. Of course, a lot of this material was written by James, Lars, and Dave Mustaine, although Mustaine's writing credits were removed and replaced by Kirk Hammett, leading to many feuds and lawsuits over the years. So this one here is the original printing of this. It doesn't have the music credits, but I'll show you this cassette here while we have a minute. So this is, it's a black shell with a paper label, and it was printed at the Polygram plant. You see it says Polygram right there, right here. And it was printed by Polygram. These were independent, made in Canada. The Bonsai label was actually shut down a few years, I think it was either right after the 90s or a few years before the 90s. They were out of Montreal, and they had some really cool records. They distributed a lot of the records for Metal Blade and Megaforce in Canada. So the Bonsai's got quite a discography, and a lot of people tend to collect these. This is a very expensive tape. Last time I checked, it was over 150 bucks. So this is the Kill 'Em All Canadian Banzai paper label. The albums were neat. There's 2 different versions. One had a silver label, one had a black label. This doesn't have anything other than sort of, see if you can see it here, the producer and the writers and such. You know, all the standard music stuff. But writing credits are not on this. I was looking for that. So that's Kill 'Em All. That's the granddaddy of them all. That's the one that started the scene, started the genre. broke for Metallica. In support of this, they didn't actually release the single till later. They actually did a tour with Raven and ended up opening for Ozzy, I believe, in their first US leg. But anyway, that's Kill 'Em All. So we're going to go ahead and talk about Master of Puppets next, this one. So let's go ahead and get started with Puppets. So before I mention Puppets, I did want to mention a couple of the tracks that I liked from this record. Hit the Lights, Four Horsemen, Anesthesia with the Cliff Burton solo, Metal Militia, of course. So, again, Kill 'Em All, one of the best albums ever made. Just saying. So, Puppets. Well, can we talk about Master of Puppets? This copy here is a Polygram Vertigo copy. It's from Mexico, and it does have the Spanish wording here. It has the English song titles here, and it has the Mexican Spanish writing in the bottom. Here, I'll show you. And on here, it has the translated versions of the songs. So this comes from Mexico. It was a hard cassette to get, but I'm glad I have it in my collection. Again, Metallica, Mexican copy. This is a first printing. So let's talk about this a little bit. Well, it was recorded in Copenhagen, Denmark at Sweet Silence Studios. And it was recorded between September and December 1985 and released in March the 3rd, 1986. The producer was Flemming Rasmussen, and he is credited with making this one of the thrashiest albums ever. Just saying. I love this record. It was released on Elektra in North America and in Vertigo Records, Vertigo Polygram. And you can see here, Vertigo Polygram internationally. And, well, some of the, there's a bit of a cloud that hangs over this record. This was the last record to feature Cliff Burton. He had passed away, sadly, in a bus accident during the Damage Inc. tour on September the 26th outside of Stockholm, Sweden. Fell out of a window during the bus accident, and unfortunately the bus fell on top of him, killing him instantly. So, rest in peace, Cliff Burton. One more time. You were a madman. I love you. I have your Misfits tattoo in the same place. You're one of the greats. So, with that said, I have a hard time talking about this one because of that. This album is one of the ones that helped change my life, both playing music and just being a general fan of heavy metal. So, a couple of cool notes about this was Lars Ulrich was trying to get Geddy Lee from Rush to help record this album with him, but the collaboration schedules never materialized. Dave Mustaine claimed that he had co-written part of Leper Messiah. He had a song called The Hills Ran Red, and there's parts of that song that was used in Leper. And the band did deny it publicly, but Len later on sort of admitted that they may have snuck a piece or two of that recording into Leper Messiah. This is a masterpiece. Every critic on every music magazine ever says this is the best thrash metal album of all time. So what can you say about that? You can't disagree with that. So that's Puppets. That's one of my favorites. I got this, right after I got Kill 'Em All. 86, 87 time frame. I love this record. I burned it out. I have the original on vinyl. I have the CD, and I have multiples of this cassette. All right, so next up we have the Black Album, also known by the working title by the band members as Five. It featured the Gadsden flag, Don't Tread on Me Snake, bigger images right over here, with the black cover modeled after the Status Quo record. See here, it's sort of gray monolithic Metallica logo with the Gadsden snake. This is an actual Vertigo copy from Turkey. See, it has a black translucent shell. It's kind of a neat one. I've never been able to find another one of these. This came from the country of Turkey. It does play. It's a great sounding cassette. It's on Vertigo. It's clear. It's dope. you should like it, because I do too. So, the Black Album. What can you say about this? Well, it's a transition from the earlier thrash metal sound of Metallica. It's more produced, it's more slicker sound. It was produced by Bob Rock, who, as many know, was involved in the Saint Anger debacle, which we won't talk about because Saint Anger sucks. But the Black Album has actually grown on me over the years because I was one in that camp that said this was a sellout record. That they went commercial, they sold out, they were no longer a thrash band. But now that I've gotten older, I realize people evolve, people change. And again, it was just another step in the Metallica progression. I actually come to love this album. There's a lot of great songs on this. There's 5 singles off this. You know, we all know them. But for some of the younger kids that don't know, we have Enter Sandman, Unforgiven, Nothing Else Matters, Wherever I May Roam, Sad But True, and of course, my personal favorite, Don't Tread on Me. So, what can we say about some of the details of this record? Well, it was released in August 1991. It was recorded between October 6, 1990 and June 16, 1991 at 2 places. 1-on-1 Studios in LA, and they finished it up at Little Mountain Sound Studios in Vancouver, BC, Canada. They were frequently at odds with Bob Rock because he wanted to change them into a more commercial, slick, radio-friendly sound. And again, they were quite resistant to this change. So there's a lot of banging back and forth, which is why it took eight months to record the record. They promoted this, as they always did, with massive, massive tours. The Wherever I May Roam tour was huge. They ended it in Moscow with, I think it was a free concert. They said it was the biggest free concert of a Western band anywhere in Europe. And unofficial estimates were over 1 million people that went to the Moscow show in 91. And the official numbers were more about 600,000. But that's part of the Live Binge series, and I believe there's a bootleg, and it's on YouTube. So go check it out. Metallica Live Moscow 1991. It was massive. It was huge. I've watched it many a time. So again, based on the Gadsden flag, Don't Tread on Me logo. Here, I don't think this has any of the fancy fold out cover like it did on the CD. It just has the song titles. So there you go with that. If you wanted to pause it. Again, this album grew on me over the years. It's turned out to be one of my favorites. And of course, so many songs from this album are in their live set, right? Like Sandman, Sad But True, Unforgiven, Wherever I May Roam, Through the Never. Like, they play a lot of these songs in their current live set and have since this album has been released. So this is a great album. These are 3 great Metallica cassettes. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate everyone's support. It was a Metal Monday of Metallica with Maiden. That's a lot of M's, and let's rock it out.